Today is Monday, January the 31st, 2022, and it's a great day to have a day here on the Spurs Up Show, the best Gamecocks podcast on the internet. And on today's show, I break down Saturday's game as the Gamecocks find a way yet again with another big second half comeback as Frank Martin's squad beats the Texas A&M Aggies for the sixth consecutive time by a final score of 74-63. Guys, I'll break down the game in its entirety. We'll talk biggest takeaways, hand out the Shooter's Shoot Award, and I'll talk about what's next for South Carolina as well. Also, guys, Shane Beamer keeps on keeping on as the preferred walk-on commitments pour in over the weekend. Guys, I'll break down these guys, talk about each and what they mean for South Carolina football moving forward. Also, news and notes to get into, your listener questions, and a great conversation, great throwback interview with former Gamecocks fullback Jacob August as we detailed his illustrious career in garnet and black. Guys, I got a packed show for you here on this Monday, and of course, as always, it's brought to you by our friends over at Upstate Movers Group. Guys, Upstate Movers Group, for all your moving needs in the 2022 calendar year, be sure to check out our friends over at Upstate Movers Group. You can find them on social media at Upstate Movers Group. Or of course, if you have any other questions, go to their website, upstatemoversgroup.com. That's upstatemoversgroup.com. Be sure to check them out and tell them Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent you. Let's get it. Everyone in life loves a good comeback story. To see someone or something beat the odds, show resiliency, and perform at their best with their backs against the wall. Are we seeing that right now with this Gamecocks basketball team? And as we sit here on the last day of January and close out this month and look ahead to a new month upon us with challenges all across the horizon, one thing's for certain, it's going to be a lot of damn fun to see how this thing unfolds. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, happy Monday. Hope you're all doing well. I'm Chris Phillips, your host of the Spurs Up Show. As always, appreciate you all tuning in. I hope this show does find you well, no matter where you are, what you are doing. Hope you're off to a fantastic start in your week. After a week on the road last week down in sunny Florida, it feels damn good, I will say, to be back in the studio. We had a blast last week, but again, love the comfortable confines of the studio, rocking and rolling with the content this week. And again, folks, as you all know, this is one of my favorite times of year because we got the court cocks going. We got the yard cocks playing in scrimmages right now. Literally a scrimmage today, this afternoon, opening day, creeping up just around the corner. QB1 is officially home on campus. A lot to be excited about right now. And a lot to get into here on this Monday show. Again, guys, hope this show does find you. And I hope your week's getting off to a fantastic start. Before we get rocking and rolling here on this Monday, a couple of quick housekeeping items. Of course, first, guys, we're back. In case you could not tell, we are back in the studio. Podcast, Daily Crow, all the content rolling this week as normal. You already know the drill. And again, it feels good to be good, and it feels good to be back in studio as well. Of course, like I said, we're back, which means Tin Roof is back this Wednesday. 5 to 7 will be out there. Also, though, really excited. Going to have a busy Wednesday night because after the Tin Roof show, we're going to be there for a little bit. We're actually heading over to Pinch in 5 Points. The good fine folks at Pinch wanted to partner up for a giveaway. And of course, they do their bingo on Wednesday nights and they give away prize packages. We are actually giving away a TSUS swag bag, if you will, that'll include a hat, hoodie, and a t-shirt. So again, really excited to partner up with those fine folks over at Pinch. Be sure to come on out to Pinch on Wednesday night. And I got a feeling things might get a little rowdy on Wednesday. Who knows? Who knows? Would be kind of standard at this point. But either way, Tin Roof Pinch on Wednesday night. Also, guys, very excited to announce. You might have seen this on social media teased, but if you're hearing the sound of my voice right now, you've probably already seen it this morning be announced. The University of South Carolina has officially partnered up with the fine folks over at Home Field, and Home Field is officially one of the newest sponsors of the Spurs Up show. So again, guys, excited to announce this partnership. You might be asking yourself, Chris, what is Home Field? Guys, Home Field is premium collegiate apparel brand out of Indianapolis. They're incredibly comfortable, officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs. Guys, you all know, if you've been following me for any length of time, I am a huge vintage guy. Obviously, we supported and sponsored the Thread Affair event in Columbia, South Carolina, now partnering up with Home Field, who literally specializes in officially licensed apparel that is all vintage. Guys, I'm telling you right now, the Gamecock collection is absolutely insane. Home Field is kicking off big news Saturday season 3, where they launch a new school on their site every Saturday for 8 weeks straight. And guys, I'm proud to say that South Carolina is week 3. Guys, Home Field digs through the archives and history of your school to find unique logos, mascots, and moments to make thoughtful designs for your school. Guys, again, the launch will be officially on February the 5th. South Carolina is week 3. The launch is February the 5th. South Carolina collection has 13 pieces of apparel in the collection, including t-shirts, hoodies, crew necks, and they're all vintage marks as well. Guys, here's a little secret. I've actually received my merchandise. I've received the stuff from the folks at Home Field. Dude, it's incredible, man. The brand is awesome. The people are great. The quality of this merchandise, you guys all know, if you rock with the TSUS merch, you know we only have a standard of excellence and a high standard for the stuff that we wear. This is going to become a piece in my rotation, no doubt. The Home Field stuff, the comfortability of this stuff is absolutely incredible. Guys, again, the detail, the feel of the shirt, the way it fits as well, everything, it actually exceeded my expectations. It's absolutely incredible. Guys, get this as well. New customers can get 15% off their first purchase from Home Field with the code Spurs Up at checkout. And yes, that is our promo code. So again, 15% off your first purchase from Home Field with the promo code Spurs Up at checkout at homefieldapparel.com. Again, that's promo code Spurs Up, 15% off at homefieldapparel.com. And again, guys, appreciate those fine folks at Home Field for reaching out to us, allowing us to be a part of pushing the product. And like I told you guys, I know you got to wait. February the 5th is when it drops. These vintage pieces are absolutely incredible. Again, RIP your wallets, because you're going to be spending a lot of money on this merchandise. And guys, I would not be pushing the merch if I wasn't, number one, a big fan of it. Number two, trusting the people at Home Field, the quality, the customer service, everything is fantastic. And again, guys, so you're going to be hearing me talk a lot about Home Field apparel over the next few weeks or so. But again, really, really excited and appreciative of the opportunity to partner with these guys. And again, that will be this Saturday. That's when the apparel drops this Saturday. The Home Field apparel will drop. Again, that promo code Spurs Up. Make sure you use that, and you'll see us talking about them a lot on social media as well. All right, guys, let's dive into it. Gamecocks getting a big, big victory on the hardwood on Saturday night as Frank Martin's squad shows their resiliency yet again. Final score 74-63. Gamecocks taking down the Texas A&M Aggies. And I tell you what, guys, let me start here, by the way, because I'm sure many of you are tuning in. You know, I caught it over the weekend. Chris, you still on the fire, Frank Martin? What do you think about Frank Martin? Guys, let me point something out really quickly. There's a reason why, and a lot of the reaction is why I waited so long in the Frank Martin tenure to say anything, because I don't have this feeling of our basketball program is doomed with Frank Martin at the helm. This situation and the situation that was felt in Gamecocks football with Will Muschamp, totally different. And I feel like people just see a tweet, they see 1 5-second clip of a video, and they're like, oh, Chris is a fire Frank Martin, going to run him out of town type of guy. This program, let's call it for what it is. This program about a week and a half or so ago was basically flatlining. 1-4, down at halftime to the Georgia Bulldogs. Okay. And so with that moment, you looked at and said, you know what? This program needs a fresh voice. This program needs a fresh change. This program needs to go a different direction. But guys, the energy has never changed. The energy has never changed. We all knew and said coming into this season, hey, if South Carolina doesn't make the NCAA tournament in this season, I think if nothing else, you as the Gamecocks have to take a very hard look at yourself in the mirror and say, where are we going? Where are we headed as a basketball program? Do we like the future under Frank Martin? Do we need a change? Do we have to change something up to get to where we want to go after a decade? Okay. But in no way am I like pulling for South Carolina to lose. I mean, it's so funny to see the people. And I don't know why this is a thing, that people think that you can't have an opinion on your team. And then if you do have an opinion on your team, you're not allowed to celebrate when your team wins. You know, it's don't celebrate. You were calling for Martin. Again, the energy's not changed, guys. The energy's been the same since before the season started. Okay. Right. Kudos and tip of the cap to everybody for that week last week. Going 3-0. Granted, 2 of your 3 wins were against Vandy and Georgia. Who gives a damn? I don't care who you beat. My biggest takeaway from Saturday night and really the entire week last week, guys, is this. Because this is the only thing I can think of. This team thrives with its back against the wall. I don't know what it is. I can't believe that South kind of was able to overcome a halftime deficit again on the road. I mean, it's truly mind-blowing and truly baffling that the way you're winning games, that's what really is crazy to me, is that you're finding ways in these games to find a spark, get hot, get your shooters going. You're also running into a situation where the opposing team you're playing against, you're playing fantastic defense, and call it for what it is, guys. They're going cold as well. We talked about how important this game was, and both teams needed the game. And I thought Texas A&M being on their home floor, you know, I thought that they were going to be the more desperate team, the more hungry team. I thought they were going to take it to you. But, you know, kudos to Frank Martin. Kudos to the entire basketball team for continuing to fight, scratch, and claw and believe in one another and believe in each other. And, you know, I will say this, even at 1-4, I don't feel like, and if you did, I feel like you were making a mistake. I didn't doubt or think, I should say, that this team was going to quit, to just fold. Frank Martin's teams have shown that they will continue to fight, that they're going to be a really tough out. You know, people don't like playing Frank Martin teams, right? So am I surprised the Gamecocks went 3-0? Slightly, yes. But we knew that's what you needed to do. You need to take advantage of 2 of those 3 games that were games you should have won. And again, I did not doubt this team would continue to fight and scratch and claw and again, fight for their head coach in his future at the University of South Carolina. Again, I don't know why there's people that take it so personally, that don't want to hear about it. If that's what it takes for this team to play well and play with an edge and play with swagger, if they need that us against the world mentality and they need people chirping their head coach, then so be it. I'll lead the charge. That's fine. But as I said, when the previous coach of Gamecocks football was here, because, hey, I remember a time, believe it or not, you know, it's fun to pick at Will Muschamp right now and hate Will Muschamp, and all of Gamecock Nation can't stand the dude. But I remember at one point going out on a limb, saying that South Carolina needed to change coaches and catching pure hell and vitriol for it. And the response in this situation has not been nearly as negative and toxic because, again, I think people understand for the most part and hear out what I am saying. Getting to the NCAA tournament in this season, that is the goal. That is the expectation. I think that should be the minimum standard for Frank Martin to continue to be employed at the University of South Carolina. But I never doubted and will never doubt that Frank Martin is a quality basketball coach. The dude knows what he's talking about. You don't get to a Final Four if you are a bad basketball coach. The question has simply been, can guys flourish under his coaching style? Can guys flourish in his system? And it takes a specific type of player, specific type of athlete to flourish under Frank Martin. Well, I think the good news for Frank is this. He's found some guys, and guys like Eric Stevenson, Mr. Stevie, Mr. Shooter Shoot. He's found guys like Eric Stevenson. He's found guys like James Reese. He's found guys like Chico Carter and A.J. Wilson. And, you really got to give credit to what Frank Martin did over the offseason, just completely revamping his basketball team. Does it speak to, and again, I don't want to dive into last year, the COVID year, but does it speak to that guys like A.J. Lawson and Justin Minaya and Trey Hannibal, were they not coachable? Were they not a fit for Frank Martin and what he's doing? I don't know. Again, that's all speculation. But this team is showing a level of resiliency that even goes beyond my expectations. Again, that's the most shocking thing, is how you won that game on Saturday night. Another situation where you're down at half and you ride a huge second half spark to get the victory. It's a bit shocking. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. It's a bit shocking. It's wild the way this team is winning games, how they're winning games. You wonder how long can you play with fire, in the sense of how long can you continue to fall. I think at some point, obviously the schedule toughens up as you get into February, and you're going to have to play better from the jump. No doubt. You're going to have to play better from the jump. But right now, it's working. And it's a lot of fun to watch when it works. You look at the game statistically. I mean, South Carolina shot 45% from the field, A&M just 34%. So, again, you played good defense. 47% from three is what you shot. They shot just 20%. So, again, statistically, you dominated. You dominated. You limited the turnovers. You weren't great there, but I think you limited them. And you made the free throws down the stretch when you needed them as well. Again, I don't know what this week means. It feels good to be good, though, and I'll continue to say that. I don't really give a damn if there's any type of negative reaction. It does feel good to be good. And Gamecock fan, no matter what your opinions, you should celebrate. Winning is fun. The fun is in the winning. The winning will never not be fun. And all we want to do is win. But again, for those who are hearing the sound of my voice saying, oh, you're celebrating a victory, why are you switching up the energy? The energy's been consistent the entire year. And again, guys, that's why I went on record and said, when I said what I said after the Florida game, I did not go on record and go on the podcast and say Gamecocks basketball is doomed with Frank Martin as the head coach. He's got to get out. The longer we keep him employed, the longer we're going down a path of mediocrity and whatever, right? Frank Martin's a good basketball coach. He's done a lot of great things here. It's year 10. We got to make the tournament. The energy has never changed. It's not any ill will, no vitriol at all. And I would love to see nothing more than South going to win the next 10 in a row and get to the postseason. Why not? Let's not look at a crappy start and have that take away from any of the enjoyment and excitement of what's going on right now. Because, again, a 3-0 week, hey, you got positive momentum out the wazoo right now. Can you parlay it? Can you capitalize on it? Schedule's going to toughen up. February will make or break you, no doubt. No doubt. That is stating the obvious. But February will make or break you. But that was a huge win. I mean, that was a huge, huge win on Saturday. Huge win. And again, like I said, kudos and a tip of the cap to Frank Martin, that staff, those players, everyone for continuing to be resilient. I mean, this team plays with a swagger, plays with an edge, plays the chip on its shoulder. And right now, it's working. Again, I don't think you can make a living that way the rest of the year. I don't think you can continue to get down in games. But right now, it's working. And over the last week, it has worked. And what's fun is I think this team's confidence continues to build, continues to get better. And who knows, man? You get a team like that that's just feeling it. They don't know they're supposed to lose. They don't know that what I'm saying or you're saying or the preseason expectations or the national expectations, they don't care. They're going to play their tails off. They're going to fight for their head coach. Again, I never thought this team would quit. Never thought this team would quit. I think what we're doing right now is very typical of a Frank Martin team. And hopefully, maybe, just maybe, that'll be enough in about a month and a half or so for us to be looking at this team and projecting where we're going to be going in postseason play. But again, either way, we got a lot of basketball to go, but that was a great win on Saturday night, man. Again, a game that you were the road underdog. Texas A&M was desperate. They absolutely needed that game as well. And, for you to go on the road and get to 500 in SEC play after the start that you had, tip the cap. Again, what does it mean in the grand scheme of things for this season? I don't know. Because, again, the schedule does toughen up. You got some great opportunities. I don't know what happens the rest of the way, but this last week was one of the most fun weeks of Gamecocks basketball in quite some time. I think we can all agree with that. So, again, huge win. And a guy that has been so much fun to watch, guys, and I think he's actually one of the most underrated scorers in the SEC. I'm going to go on record and say that because what he's done over the last couple of times, and you guys know I like to hand out this award, the Shooter Shoot Award, to different players and switch things up. But when you're playing at the level that James Reese is, bro, game got to recognize game. James Reese, again, 20 points, 5 for 9 from the field, 3 of 5 from three-point range, and 7 for 8 from the free throw line. I mean, this dude has been absolutely incredible. Maybe the best pickup by Frank Martin in the transfer portal. And again, very excited to see how his game evolves. But what is next for South Carolina basketball, right? What's next? I talked about February. Of course, today, the last day of January. Tomorrow begins the February slate, and we'll have a full preview of that game on the podcast. You go to Mississippi State in Starkville. Again, another big road SEC matchup. Mississippi State sort of one of those middle-of-the-pack SEC teams, sort of like Texas A&M was. Can you take advantage? Then you got huge home games back-to-back on Saturday and Tuesday against Tennessee and Kentucky, followed by road dates at Georgia, at Ole Miss, LSU at home, Mississippi State at home, at Bama. And that rounds out February. So again, guys, there's a lot of opportunity. You're going to play some good basketball teams, no question. You're going to play some ranked opponents, no doubt. But you're sitting 4-4, and I'll be honest with you, looking at the schedule, I probably would have taken that. I probably would have taken 4-4 going into February. I really would have. I mean, you're talking about someone who picked the Gamecocks to finish 6-12 in SEC play. So, you're far on pace to exceed those expectations. But again, great win. It feels good to be good. Don't let anybody tell you different. It feels damn good to be good. And again, guys, all I want is for Frank. I want to see Frank Martin go on this quote-unquote redemption tour, if you will, and win the next 10 in a row and take this team to the tournament. And guess what? At that point, you know what, Frank Martin, you proved yourself. You proved that you belong. You proved that the future of Gamecocks basketball is best served in your hand. Let's proceed forward. As long as you want to be here, let's go. Again, all you can do is call it like you see it. And when you were sitting at 1-4 and you felt like things were stale, nobody gave a damn about the games, maybe people are starting to get a little excited again about Gamecocks basketball. Maybe, just maybe. I know a lot of us were tuned in on Saturday night, right? And again, if you beat Mississippi State tomorrow, all of a sudden, that game at CLA against Tennessee, that will be a huge, huge opportunity to sort of put the SEC on high alert and say, you know what? We're for real. We're for real competing. And here's the great thing too, guys. It's all about momentum. You know what I mean? You want to be playing your best basketball going into February, going into March. It's all about positive momentum. And this team, the best thing about them right now is they're playing with confidence. They're playing with swagger. They're playing with an edge. They're playing with a chip on their shoulder. And again, does it have anything to do with what I said? Does it have anything to do with fans calling for Frank Martin's job? I have no idea. Man. But again, to insinuate that fans shouldn't be able to celebrate and shouldn't be able to enjoy their team getting a victory just because they have an opinion on the future of the program. And again, guys, I go back to this. When I said what I said about Frank Martin, and I'm not backing off of what I said. I'm not backing off of that at all. Like I told you guys, the energy's been consistent. But I actually said, if you go back and watch the video after the Florida game, barring a major turnaround, barring a run in this last third of the season or so. So, I mean, it's always been, hey, there's still a lot of basketball to be played. Technically, you could certainly make a run and make the tournament. But that's what the goal is right now. That's what it's got to be. That's what the expectation is. So, again, we can talk about it at some other point. There's plenty of games to go. But a great win, man. One that you really, you had to have the Georgia game. You had to have the Vandy game. that Texas A&M game, that is a fantastic victory, a quad 1 win, by the way, on the road. So kudos to all those involved, man. Truly just gritty, gutsy. And again, that is Frank Martin basketball. That is Gamecocks basketball under Frank Martin. Playing with heart, playing with competitiveness. And that's the thing that really stands out to me. Again, I always felt like you had the shooters. Like I told you guys before, like I like this team. I do. It's fun watching Stevie play. It's fun watching James Reese shoot the damn thing. It's fun watching the way that A.J. Wilson has evolved. It's fun watching, when Wildens Levesque can get it going. Keyshawn Bryant can get it going. You go down the list of guys that showed up and showed out for you. It's fun watching these. Keyshawn with 12, James Reese with 20, Eric Stevenson with 13, Jermaine Couisnard, seeing him come back into his own. That's been huge. Been huge for South Carolina. I'll tell you that. And I think that may be, I don't think it's too bold to say the X factor going the rest of the way. I think if Jermaine Couisnard can continue to play quality basketball the way he's done, I think you've just seen it, man. When he hasn't been on the floor, we have like a totally different team. Again, I like James Reese. I like Jacoby Wright. I like A.J. Wilson. But I think Jermaine Couisnard just brings a different element, man. A veteran dude, been through the fire, been through the SEC grind. So keeping him healthy and keeping him going. But again, guys, tomorrow's game, February the 1st at Mississippi State. A lot on the line this week. Going to begin the gauntlet that is February. And really where your resume is going to be solidified. So again, excited to see it, but great win on Saturday night. Feels good to be good and enjoy it, Gamecock fans. Again, it hasn't been this much fun to watch South Carolina basketball. I don't care who you beat, who you played after starting 1-4 and then winning your next 3. You really got to appreciate what this team has done over the last week. And hey, we'll see if they can keep it going. Positive momentum is a beautiful thing. Momentum is a fickle mistress. And once you get a hold of positive momentum, don't let go. Keep Uncle Mo on your side, as they say. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Guys, let's move to the football side of things. As Shane Bieber keeps up the great work, adding some preferred walk-on commitments over the weekend, starting with Columbia running back Dante Miller. Miller, a guy that we heard a lot about over the last couple of weeks, a dude that apparently runs like a 4.2 40, was one of the best running backs in the Ivy League. So again, the running back position is crowded, no doubt. And I want to make something clear as well, because I made the point on social media. I was like, do we really need to add another running back? In no way was I saying that I don't want to add more quality football players. Hey, the more the merrier, but only 2 or 3 are going to carry the rock, most likely. So where does Miller fit in? Could he play special teams? Could he slide out the slot? I have no idea. But hey, you got a guy that runs a 4.2? I'm all game for it. I'm all game for it. Again, Shane Beamer knows much better than I. You also add offensive lineman Mac Walters and wide receiver Dante Black. And Black, a dude that actually broke Deebo Samuel's high school record. So some quality additions as well, man. You can always find some diamonds in the rough, some gems, if you will, as PWOs. So we'll see if these guys can be big-time contributors for South Carolina and Shane Beamer going in the 2022 season and beyond. Guys, a couple quick news and notes, and then we'll dive into your questions and interview. First things first, D1Baseball.com. Pick up the Yardcocks to finish 5th in the SEC East. And just really quickly on that, I saw people freaking out on social media. And listen, I like D1 Baseball. We just had Aaron Fitt on. Those guys did a fantastic job. One thing, the SEC is extremely competitive. And the preseason rankings, the preseason projections, guys, as you've seen my predictions, right? As you've seen my predictions, then predictions don't mean a hill of beans. So what does it really matter? I've been watching this team. And again, if you're part of the Big Cock Club, be sure to join today. We're posting scrimmage tidbits and notes. I got a good feeling about this team. And we've got, actually, as we sit now, just 18 days away from opening day. Not next week, but 2 weeks from now, we will drop our official predictions and projections and projected lineup and record and all that good stuff that Monday, the week of opening day. So again, you guys are going to get my full thoughts on what I think of the Yardcocks. I think 5th in the SEC East. I'll call it for what it is. I think it's a bit low. I think this team might be being slept on a little bit because of the question marks, but we'll see. Also, on the basketball side of things, 3-star guard Bryce Lindsey committing. So, hey, if nothing else, there is momentum for Frank Martin on the recruiting trail. And I guess the kid's name, Gigi Jackson. He's going to be at the game Saturday against Tennessee. So, hey, man, pack CLA. I tell you what, if you can get the win against Mississippi State, that should be an electric crowd, an electric atmosphere Saturday at Colonial Life Arena. Also, guys, really quickly, women's basketball, Dawn Staley's squad downing the Florida Gators by a final score of 62-50. 62-50, the women's basketball team taking care of business. Ho-hum, no big deal. Do your damn thing and talk shit while you do it. This team is fun to watch. I mean, again, man, it's national title or bust. And I know that might sound aggressive. That might sound crazy. But you know what? When you got the type of team that we do, that's what you get. So, all right, guys, let's dive into your listener questions and we'll get into this interview. Wilk-C709 says, who's going to win the Super Bowl? Bro, I got to roll with Debo. I got to roll with Debo and the Niners. That game is still going on right now. So if they end up losing, I guess scratch that, forget it. Or Joey Burrow, man. I mean, some legends will be playing in the Super Bowl, no doubt. But how about Debo and the boys getting the job done? Why not? Trent Coker says, any chances of Rattler being being Heisman winner next year? No, I don't think so, man. I mean, I'll tell you this. If Rattler's in a Heisman talk, we are going to the SEC championship, bottom line. So, and I don't think those expectations are quite realistic. Grant Hurd 8 says, please tell me sunscreen is a travel essential for you now. Believe it or not, down there in Florida, I did not put sunscreen on one time. So take it for what it's worth, Grant. Tucker Hamilton, do you truly feel Shane Beamer is going to get us to an SEC championship? You know, Tucker, there's a lot of different factors that go into that. And so I'm not going to guarantee one way or the other that it is or is not going to happen. But I do feel confident in saying that Shane Beamer is going to leave this program in a much, much, much better place than where he found it. So does that mean an SEC title? Does that mean a national title? I have no idea. But I can tell you one thing, Shane Beamer is going to give it his best shot. Bottom line, I think Shane Beamer, it's personal to him. You know, we talked about he wants to be here. He wants to be a Gamecock. You can say that over and over again till you're blue in the face. He wants to be here. It's personal. Again, I feel great about the Gamecocks football program moving forward and the heights it can reach under his leadership. Will Knight 03, what do you think the men's basketball record's going to be down the stretch? Dude, who knows, man? Who knows? You know, I thought a week and a half or so ago, you may not even win another game, right? And now, you know, you sit here 4-4. So the opportunity's there, though, man. You know, February's tough. The schedule does get harder, but, you know, who knows? I mean, dude, again, the greatest thing, the greatest news for Gamecock basketball fans is this team is playing with confidence, a swagger, and edge. And again, it's just when you get hot and you start doing it, guys, we saw it in 2017. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from that crew, but was that team really a Final Four team? I don't know that they were. You know, they showed deficiencies and they showed problems in that season, but they got hot. They got confident. They couldn't miss. They couldn't lose. So who knows? Maybe you can capture lightning in a bottle in the month of February and throughout the rest of this season as well. And maybe, just maybe, you can prove the doubters, including myself, wrong and get to the NCAA tournament. Final question here. Austin G _45, who will be the most improved on baseball this year on the baseball team? Of the returners, I will say, who will be the most improved? I think Braylon Wimmer's going to blow up, dude. I think he's going to have a massive year for us this year. You know, a guy that went 11-31 last year, home run RBIs, if you will. I could see him being a 15-plus home run kind of guy. Needs to cut down the strikeouts if he can do that, man. I think he's an all-American caliber talent. As far as the new guys, the newcomers, you know, there's a lot of dudes I'm excited about. Brant Belt, Kevin Madden, Thad Ector in the outfield. Some really quality pieces. And again, we'll break that down more in its entirety as we get closer to opening day, but really excited about this Yardcocks baseball team. And I'm telling you, I think we're being slept on just a little bit. So we'll see. Again, a lot more to come the week of opening day. And once we dive into opening day and get into the baseball season and all that good stuff, going to be a ton of fun. Guys, this has been a blast as well. Hope you're having, again, a fantastic Monday. Great start to your week, but don't go anywhere. It's not over yet. Former Gamecocks fullback Jacob August joined me for a conversation way back in 2019. We talked about his career playing for Steve Spurrier, Will Muschamp, all that good stuff. So again, guys, sit back, relax, enjoy the interview. And again, appreciate you all tuning in. Feels so good to be back in the studio, getting after it, podcast, Daily Crow, all the content rolling this week. You guys already know the drill. Again, guys, enjoy the rest of your Monday and enjoy this conversation with former Gamecocks fullback Jacob August. All right, joining us today on the Spurs Up Show is a man that played for Gamecocks football from 2014 to 2018. He amassed 23 catches, 239 yards, and 2 touchdowns over his South Carolina career. Was also named 3-time SEC Academic Honor Roll, Burlsworth Trophy nominee in 2018, an award that is given to the most outstanding college football player who began his career as a walk-on. For a while, he also sported one of the best mustaches in USC history. I'm very happy to bring onto the show former Gamecocks tight end Jacob August. Jacob, appreciate you taking the time, man. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So obviously I had to throw it in there about the mustache, because I'll be honest, one of the first things when I think about you last season was the mustache you had. Before we get into everything else, what's the story behind the choice of facial hair last year? Just kind of a random thing, or something you had going?
Yeah, it was pretty random. My dad had a mustache for like 20 years, so I grew up looking at him with one, and he just always looked so professional. So I thought that I would give it a shot, and it ended up working pretty well because it started during camp, and I stayed at the facility, so I didn't have a chance to shave or anything. So by the time camp was over, it was pretty much already in there. So I just kind of kept it going the rest of the season, and it ended up being a lot more burly than I anticipated.
No, yeah, that's what I was saying. It was very, very recognizable. There's no doubt about that. But let's go back to the beginning, Jacob, for you, because it's kind of interesting. You're a local kid, obviously went to Carl Newman High School. What I thought was interesting, something I didn't know about you, is that out of high school, you were offered by South Carolina and Georgia as a punter. For you
That's
specifically,
right.
because I know you went to JUCO, and I want to talk about with you a little bit life at JUCO, but for you, growing up in Columbia, I mean, was South Carolina always sort of that dream school for you? I mean, was there ever any other school on the radar for you as far as where you wanted to play college football?
Not really. I mean, we've had season tickets since I was 2 years old. I ended up going to a lot of games growing up. Ryan Brewer was always my favorite, and actually, when I was going through the process, he called me, and once he called me, it was a wrap. You know, when you have your hero growing up call you and give you advice, you kind of just listen to him. After I actually didn't go to JUCO, I went to a prep school, so I just reclassified. And after that, I was committed to Penn State as a preferred walk-on as well. But that was a short thing. South Carolina was always home to me. It was always in my heart, and it was really one of the best decisions I've ever made.
No doubt. So I apologize. You went to prep school, which is Fork Union Military Academy. Just kind of talk about
That's right.
What was that like for you? And I guess what I read up on you is that you went there as a multi-position guy, obviously, again, punter, tight end, really all over the field. I mean, when did you make that decision to play the tight end position? That's what you were going to pursue.
Yeah, well, like you said, I started as a punter. I went to a really small Catholic school in Columbia, and not a lot of kids get recruited from where I went to school, and I thought that punting would have been the top thing for me, so I started punting, and it actually opened a lot of doors for me. When I got that preferred walk-on in Georgia, I was going to be a punter, and then I was going to transition into tight end and kind of grow from there. But it was really when I went to the trial for Fork Union, I went there. I did punting and tight end, but they just saw me and they were just like, you have the perfect body for a tight end. Yeah, I think you should give it a shot. And I mean, here I am now. Like, I'm really glad I did that.
No doubt. Did you ever give any of the special teamers, the punters on your team, any of your teammates kind of crap thinking you could steal their job, or?
I mean, we have Joseph Charlton and Michael Allman. Those are two really good punters. I'd like to say if they weren't there, I would give them a run for their money, but it was always their job for the taking. No one really knew I was a punter my freshman year until we were doing a scout team period, and the defense needed a look, and they just threw me back there for a fourth down, and I ended up punting like 65 yards. And at the Rob, it was Joe Rob was the special team coach. He came to the side. He pulled me over to the side and was like, have you ever thought about punting here again? I was like, I mean, I'll do whatever you want me to do. And I ended up giving it a short stint freshman and sophomore year, but that was very short-lived.
For sure. So I want to talk about, Jacob, obviously you're one of the guys who went through the coaching change in 2015, if you will, but you played for the legendary Hall of Famer Steve Spurrier, obviously everything he did at South Carolina. Just talk about, you get on campus
in 2014. Talk about your first interactions with Steve Spurrier and just how funny is it that he nicknamed you Dan August after some, I forget the TV show or whatever that he was familiar with.
So Spurrier, he really he really liked giving players names because I think he had trouble remembering them when he got later in his career because he had so many players. And he looked at me and I made a nice play. He's like, is that Dan August? And I really like that player. And everyone's like, who's Dan August? And we ended up looking up, and he told us that when he was coaching in the USFL for the Bandits,
yeah,
Burt Reynolds was a part owner of the team. And when he was there, he was also filming for a show called Dan August. It was a detective show. I think it was on ABC, or I don't even remember where it was on. But I guess him being with Burt Reynolds that time gave him that trigger to remember Dan August, and he looked at me and was like, Dan August, I like that name. I think I'm going to call you Dan. And since then, it kind of stuck.
That's awesome. So like I mentioned, Jacob, you came to USC as a walk-on. You redshirted in 2014. I want to ask you, from someone that's done it, how much different, if at all, is life for a walk-on versus a scholarship guy, if you will?
I mean, it's different. You definitely have to earn your keep a lot more when you're a walk-on. The recruited guys, they pretty much know who they are. The coaches know who you are when you come in. But as far as a walk-on, it's kind of you got to earn your stripes. You got to do a lot of the dirty work. You might not get a lot of the attention in the beginning that the scholarship players get, but that's just part of the challenge. You gotta rise above that and make your name known. I think that being a walk-on was a really good thing that happened to me because it made me appreciate the process a lot more. So I really have no complaints in terms of being a walk-on.
For sure. So I want to jump ahead, Jacob. 2015, your first year on the field playing the UCF game. You record your first touchdown in garnet and black. Talk about what is going through your mind, and I guess just how awesome it was, because I actually watched the play before we came on live, and I forgot just how much you lost your mind basically when you scored that touchdown. I'm sure a lot of emotions were running through you. I mean, just talk about, again, the emotions and how awesome it was knowing you just scored for your hometown team, the team you grew up watching.
Man, what an incredible experience. One thing I remember about that was when I scored, I felt like I was in the movie Gladiator when everyone in the Coliseum was staring down at you and you scored my touchdown and put my hands up. What happened was that was one of Spurrier's marquee plays. It was a bootleg play action, and usually goes with Jarrell. But Jarrell had about 7 or 8 snaps before that, and he was getting really tired. So he said, "You got it, Dan." And he looked at me, and I was like, "Oh man, this is coming to me." So I put my hand down. I ran the over ball, and it was right there. It was pretty awesome. And I think the best part about it was how excited my teammates were with that, though, because they knew how much it meant to me. They knew how big of a Gamecock fan I was. So that was really special for me as well.
No doubt. That's awesome. So the 2015 season, obviously, Jacob, was a very, very interesting one. I'll just jump straight into it. Steve Spurrier, resigns about 3/4 of the way, midway through the season, whatever. But, what was your reaction to it? Because, again, as a guy that was a huge fan, season tickets, you saw what Steve Spurrier did and built at South Carolina, and then you're playing for him. And I'm sure this is just like a whirlwind of emotion. Again, Spurrier out of nowhere. We, like I said, I've talked to Perry Orth and Michael Scarnecchia, Bryson Allen Woods, a couple other guys about what their feelings were if they saw it coming. I mean, what was your reaction? How shocked were you, if at all? Was it something you thought would happen? I mean, what was just kind of walk me through what's going through your mind when you hear the news that Steve Spurrier is resigning?
Well, as players, we really had no idea. I remember we were preparing for Vandy, and he brought us to the side after, I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday practice. And he said, "Don't worry about what you guys are hearing. We got to stay together. Let's just worry about Vandy, prepare that way. With or without me, you guys need to do the right thing and prepare for this game." And I know a lot of us looked around and we were like kind of dumbfounded at what he said, because some of us realized that he was retiring and some of us didn't. I think it was kind of tough on the team because we kind of felt like we failed him in a way. You never want to see a legendary coach leave halfway through the year. But that's just the way it is. He felt like it was time for him to go. we all wish him nothing but the best. I'm sure he's having a great time in Florida. I mean, he's someone that I have looked up to my whole life, and I just really appreciate what he did for us during the time he was there.
Do you think there were any, I mean, I guess it doesn't sound like with you, but do you think there were any like bitter feelings from some of the guys on the team, just the kind of the way things went, because I know fans had their own reactions. I know a lot of fans were torn either way, whether they were okay with it or upset with it or how they felt. And some people still the way they feel about Steve Spurrier and what he did. I mean, were there players, what was the energy like in the locker room as far as when that happened towards Coach?
I think some players they were confused and they just felt misunderstood. I mean, it's tough because when you're getting recruited as a player, coaches come into your home and to your family, and they tell you that your kid is going to be safe with this person. So a lot of players, they expected to have 4 or 5 years with this guy, with this coach and Coach Spurrier. And when he leaves in a year and a half later, it does a lot to the families of the kids as well, because there's a lot of trust that gets put into being a college football player in terms of allowing your family to trust the coach that you have. So I think a few players were a little disgruntled by it, but it's football, man. I mean, when he retired, we had a game in 3 days. It was kind of just about us putting our heads down and we're focusing on the next game and kind of getting it out and not trying to worry about it.
Obviously, Jacob, the 2015 season didn't go the way people wanted, but how would you, after the Spurrier resignation, someone that I think doesn't get quite talked about enough is Sean Elliott. How would you grade the job that he did for you guys and the place that he left South Carolina in for Will Muschamp to kind of pick up from?
I think he did a fantastic job. A lot of players, they really look up to Coach Elliott. He's a very energetic guy. He knows what he's doing. He cares about the players so much. He cares about everyone that he coaches himself, and you can see that in his coaching techniques. I think that he did a really good job weathering the storm in a way. And he was another guy that helped us not worry about what was going on with Spurrier, but helped us worry about what the objective was in the next week.
For sure. So you, Jacob, obviously all the players really, but you guys are sitting there after the 2015 season. South Carolina's in the middle of a coaching search. You have no idea who your head coach is going to be. The Gamecocks land on Will Muschamp. Just talk about sort of what that first meeting was like, and when did you know things were about to be a lot different under Coach Muschamp than they were under Coach Spurrier?
I would probably say that first meeting he had with us, he kind of set the tone. He let us know that the stuff we were getting away with beforehand wasn't going to happen. I thought Muschamp was a perfect hire. I still think he is. I think what he's really good at is setting discipline in his players and showing the right technique in terms of on and off the field. I just think that Muschamp, I thought he was a perfect hire. I just think that Coach Spurrier was a football mind. He always knew what was going on a play ahead, and Muschamp is like that too. But Muschamp also takes it to the next level in terms of having your stuff done on and off the field. Because if it's done off the field, then you can focus on things on the field, only on the field. You don't have to worry about outside noise. So I think that's what Muschamp really brings to the table, and that's what he's really good at.
No doubt. So, Jacob, I want to jump into his first season, 2016. Obviously, I know Gamecock fans were very eager, excited. A new era of South Carolina football begins. It gets off to a rocky start. You guys are 2-4 overall going into a bye week. Will Muschamp and his coaching staff decide to take the red shirt off of a true freshman, Jake Bentley, a guy who we heard the label so many times was supposed to still be in high school. I feel like they're still saying that about him for whatever reason. But just kind of talk about what type of resurgence and new energy did that bring to the football team? Because obviously you guys finish out the year 4-2, make a bowl game, and it really seemed like it turned the team around when they handed the keys over to Jake Bentley.
Yeah, I mean, what a spark he was. I think Jake being right out of high school, or maybe supposed to be in high school, really helped him because he didn't really know what to expect, so he just got an opportunity to react during the game and could just kind of be himself. I thought that was really refreshing, and a lot of the guys reacted the right way as well. They saw what he was bringing to the table, and they wanted to match that, and that kind of gave us the resurgence and energy we needed to finish out the season.
What was your relationship like with Jake Bentley while you were at South Carolina? I'm just curious because obviously, Bentley going into his final season this year in 2019 has got a chance to set a bunch of records at South Carolina. But what specifically with you and Jake would you say your relationship was like with him?
Real good friends. We would do things. We would go to spring break together. We would spend the weekend with each other with a bunch of friends. I would say that we were really close friends. But in terms of on the football field, a lot of the position guys stay with position guys because meetings you're with your position and not much else. So I was a lot closer with the tight ends as a whole. Hayden, Kyle, Evan, KC, Will, Keel, all those guys. They really helped me get through my season with a good amount of friends. But Jake, such a good guy. You could see that he cares so much about his teammates, about his family, about his parents, about his brothers, about all of us. And there's just not much more that needs to be said about him just because of how good of a guy he is.
So, Jacob, I want to jump ahead to a very positive and awesome personal note for you. Spring of 2017, you're officially placed on scholarship. Just kind of try to explain and walk me through what that meant to you on a personal, because I'm sure it had to really hit home and be something really special for you.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I wasn't expecting it, to be honest with you. That was one of my goals, but it was it was one of the meetings when we came back after the bowl game, and it was the first meeting back, and Coach Muschamp got on stage and said, we have an issue with one of our players. If you could come up, if Jacob August, you can come up, we need to discuss something. And I got up there really scared, really nervous. I was like, oh no, what did I do? And he ended up offering me a scholarship. And the first thing I did was, shake Muschamp's hand. I got a bunch of celebratory applause by my teammates, a lot of hugs. And then I called my dad and my mom, and we just kind of sat there for a second and really appreciated, the process of what happened in these last few years, and where I started as a little kid going to USC games, and I ended up getting a scholarship at my dream school. Just incredible.
No doubt. So I want to switch gears, Jacob, with you just a little bit from sort of on the field to off the field. One thing I want to ask you about, because I'm curious, is in the day and age we are now, the social media aspect of things is very, very interesting about how certain guys handle it, how teams handle it. Some have a no Twitter policy, or some have some crazy social media policy. I think, Cliff Kingsbury with the Cardinals now is doing like a phone breaks and stuff like that. But
yeah.
My question more centers around for you. Obviously, college football, there is a lot of emotion, and people say a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, I've said things before. People just have a lot of strong opinions and say things. But I tell people that the great and terrible thing about social media is everyone has a voice, even those that maybe shouldn't have a voice, if you will. How did you as a player and other guys handle it? Because I know people can say, well, you stay away from the press clippings or stay away from your phone, but there's really no way to get away from it. How did you, and how would you say other guys on your team were able to handle it in a world that is just seems like controlled by social media at this point?
It's not impossible to keep it away from you, but it's really hard. I found the only way that I could, kind of get over that and not worry about what other people were saying was I would just delete social media for an extended period of time, because as great as social media can be, it can also be very detrimental. You can just pick any player on the roster, type in their name, and a lot of the stuff that you see will be really good and it'll be praised about the player, but then there's always those outliers that have their own opinion about what happened and aren't afraid to speak it. I think another challenge that's kind of starting to arise is social media in the younger kids changed so much. My generation, a lot of the players we were kind of raised without it, and then it was brought upon us when we got to high school and college. So we kind of got to be without it growing up. A lot of these other kids now, when they're younger, they were raised with the technology that that's all they know. All they know is Instagram, social, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat. That's their life. So they're very integrated into the whole software thing and the whole social media thing. And I think it's going to be a challenge, but for a lot of players that have issues, I always recommend, just deleting your social media for a few weeks if you're struggling with it, or turn off your notifications, because the notifications, those are what really get you. You turn on your phone and the first thing you see is someone commented on a post that you put up, and just instinctively that's all you want to see. You just want to see what they said about you. It's just a natural thing. So just having a coach have the right balance with that is really important, and it could be very beneficial if they do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jacob, again, it's curious to get your insight, because as a guy, like, you were recruited and you had an announcement, you committed. I mean, it really is crazy, like you're saying, when you talk about the kids now that are coming up. Like, I personally couldn't imagine being in like middle school or even early high school and having the access to social media that kids have. Because I'm sure you see the impact it's having on like the recruiting process. Like, it's like a full out production with kids announcing like their top 15 and their top 10, and
I know
they're just going like, it's it's just so crazy. I mean, what it's evolved into, because I'm sure you remember when it used to just be like you just called the coach, you let him know you were going there, and you committed, and that was it. Yeah, and now it's like turned this huge thing where it's just like it seems almost more guys like, and I think Deion Sanders put up a video about this, where guys are chasing offers more than they're chasing maybe wins or contributing to their team. And it is very interesting, like you're saying, like how guys are going to handle it.
Very interesting. And people are more worried about putting something important in their Instagram bio than actually finding the right school for them. And that could be a problem. But there's a lot of problems with it, but there's also it helps kids so much with exposure.
No doubt.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure if I was in this kind of era with social media, the school thing wouldn't necessarily mattered as much, because you go to a certain amount of camps, you play good, that you're all over everything. So it really does help a lot. You just got to learn how to manage it.
No doubt. No, yeah, just definitely want to get your insight. I think that's interesting. So back to the field, Jacob. One thing I want to get your opinion on, the 2017 season obviously went really well for you guys. You guys win the Outback Bowl, get to 9 wins. I think something that South Carolina's only done 7 times in its history. So a really good year. But at the end of that year, Kurt Roper was relieved of his duties as offensive coordinator. As an offensive guy, I want to ask you, because I know there were a lot of criticism for him. Even me on our show, I had my criticisms of him. But what was your take on that? Did you feel like that needed to happen? Because I'm sure you'd speak very highly of Brian McClendon, and the offense really did improve a year ago. And if you do feel like it needed to happen, what do you think were some of the shortcomings that, without obviously putting down Kurt Roper and his abilities, because that man, he knows more football than he's crapped out more football than I know. So, did you feel like that was a change that needed to happen for the Gamecocks offense, I guess, moving forward?
You can a lot of the media likes to put a lot of blame on Coach Roper, but at the end of the day, the players didn't get what needed to be done. We always thought that he had a really good game plan, but it just, for some reason, it just wouldn't get executed during the game. And Coach Roper was frustrated, but as players, we're frustrated as well too. At the end of the day, he just kind of puts us in the right place. When the whistle blows, it's on the players. It's up to us to get in the end zone. So it was kind of like a little bit like the Spurrier thing. We were disappointed in ourselves because Coach Roper, he puts his family, he puts his kids, he puts his time, and at the end of the day, he can do anything he wants, but it's dependent on us to actually execute it. So we kind of felt bad. We were really excited to get Coach McClendon because he's an awesome offensive coordinator. He's such a brilliant mind. He's creative. He was just really good for the job. But it wasn't necessarily us putting fault on Roper. It was us putting fault on ourselves.
Gotcha. And piggybacking off that, you just lightly touched on it, but how would you grade the job that McClendon did in year one? Because Muschamp was very, very adamant to bring up the stats at, the SEC Media Days that happened about a month ago about the improvement, a touchdown a game, I think 100 yards more a game. And I think it just seemed, it just seemed like there was more productivity overall. How would you grade the job that Brian McClendon did in year one? And what do you think Gamecock fans can expect moving forward with him?
The proof is in the pudding, like you said. Our offense got so much better. One thing that Coach McClendon and Coach Muschamp and all the offensive staff did really well was they took what Roper was doing and they didn't just completely get a new playbook. They they took the playbook that he has and they put a twist on it. They saw improvements that they thought would help, and they put it into the playbook so that it wasn't overbearing on us in terms of learning the plays. And in the film room, we didn't have to spend another year focusing on new plays. We could spend the year leading up to the season, watching the other team in film and focusing on the right things. So I think that can't be understated. That Coach McClendon kind of did it that way. And like I said, the stats show, I mean, he did such a good job getting the right players in the right spots. And I think that this next year coming up is going to be even better because, I mean, this is the first year Muschamp has all of his guys that he recruited on the field, except for a few fifth years. So, what Muschamp envisioned when he first got here, what he wanted to do with the team is going to be, in full effect just because it's all of his guys now. And, that's going to be another comfort zone that is better for Muschamp.
No doubt. So, Jacob, I want to talk about that Outback Bowl win over Michigan. Obviously, a crazy game. You guys are able to come back in the second half and get the win. And, I feel like it was a huge, huge moment for the program, especially a huge moment for the program under Will Muschamp. Just kind of talk about that game a little bit and just sort of what that meant to you guys, because you could certainly see the emotion, I guess, sort of pouring out on the field. And it was no doubt, like I mentioned, a huge win for the program moving forward.
Yeah, that was such an exciting week. Michigan, they have their prominence. It's Michigan football. They have a long history, and we knew that if we knocked them in the mouth, if we did the right things, that we would come out victorious. And that was the most passionate bowl game that I played in. That our team went through. We really wanted that win. And man, dude, it was just incredible. That was the biggest bowl game I played in, and a lot of the seniors there, they knew that they wanted to leave on the right note. Sky, Dante, Hayden, all those guys, they really took it to us and challenged us, be better for that game, because people don't realize that it could be really easy to get your head out of a game for a bowl game. It's you have a month off, you just played 12 games, your body's beat up, so it's mentally challenging to have the right mindset. But for that Outback Bowl, man, it just all came together, and it was such an incredible experience. How
close were you to whooping somebody's ass at the bowling alley?
I was too far away, man. If you asked a few other guys on my team, they would have probably given you a different answer. But I was more focused on the game more than the bowling alley.
It's so funny. Something like that can turn into like two teams jawing between each other because of bowling. It's just, you gotta love it.
And that made the bowl game so much better too. I mean, that really helped with the passion thing too. I mean, we really wanted to take it to them, and it was a great feeling when we did. Because they talked a lot. They definitely talked a lot.
For sure. So I want to talk about a guy that was instrumental in that 2017 team and is now having, so far is off to a great start in the NFL, and that's Hayden Hurst. Obviously a guy you mentioned before that you're very close with, a guy that you played behind. What did you learn from Hayden Hurst? What would you say is like the most important thing or the biggest thing you learned from Hayden with your time spent with him?
Work ethic. Hayden's work ethic is second to none. Anytime you're at the football facility, he's there. I mean, either working out, watching film, doing recovery. I mean, that really helped us. He really led by example in terms of the amount of time we need to spend in that environment. He came from a professional environment from the Phillies, so he kind of got a good understanding of how professionals should conduct themselves, in terms of preparation and game time achievements. But he's also just a great guy. I mean, he really cares about his teammates, just like a lot of the other guys. But he really wanted to win too. I think that he had a little bit of chip on his shoulder because he was set out to be this Major League Baseball player, and that didn't work. So I think that chip on his shoulder helped him a lot out as well.
How awesome is it to see him doing what he's doing in the NFL? I could be wrong, but I think I saw on social media, I think maybe last year you went and saw him at a game in Baltimore. I mean, it's got to be awesome seeing a guy who's a good buddy like that balling out at the NFL level.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I mean, it's like a dream, man, for him to, play in the NFL. And it's so cool just being able to support him like that. he got hurt early in the year, so it kind of set him back a little bit. But he ended up having a pretty good year, and this year, with that work ethic he has, he's putting in that extra work this offseason to be prepared for this season. So have a breakout year potentially.
No doubt. Yeah, I fully expect it for sure. I want to move into, Jacob, obviously the 2018 season. There was a ton of hype around you guys coming into the season, a ton of hype, especially around that South Carolina Georgia game. I mean, that's always one that you don't have to explain to anyone what that means to anybody at both programs. But, with all the hype of the season you guys were coming off of, the Outback Bowl win, Torrey Gurley guaranteeing a victory on SEC Network, and then that game not going the way that we had all planned it to. I mean, do you feel like there was too much hype around that? And do you think that affected you guys at all in any sort of way?
I don't ever think there's too much hype. I just think what matters is how we handle it. At the end of the day, when you go back and look at the film, we were, coaches always told us that a game is won in 6 plays. There's going to be 6 plays that determine whether or not a team wins or lose. And I just think we got on the bad end of the 6 plays. Looking back at it, you're harsher than you are during the process. But looking back at it, I felt like, our senior class could have done a lot more to kind of weather the storm. But at the end of the day, it just ends up what happens in those, 6 plays. We just didn't get it done. We still had a decent year. 7-6 isn't anything to boast about. But, when we first came in, my first year was a 3-9 year. I ended up going 9-4, 7-6. It's we're not too proud about it, but it's something that when you look back at it, you can be proud of, knowing that you left the place better than when you came.
No, yeah, definitely. And you can see the progress in the program. I'm curious to go back to one thing you said, though, about, the seniors could have done a better job, I guess, weathering the storm. I mean, did you feel like there were guys – I'm not saying the whole team, but, do you feel like there were guys on the team that really let that loss linger? Because, again, there was so much stock put in that game in the preseason.
I think that the Georgia game just kind of hit us in the chin and, made us sit back and kind of reassess what we needed to do to kind of get on our feet the right way. I don't know, man. It was tough after that Georgia game, to say the least. And I do think that we responded well, though. We came back to practice the next week and we had a really good few practices. I don't remember who we played the week after, but after that game, we kind of just swallowed it and moved on to the next.
For sure. So I obviously don't want to be negative here, Jacob. That's not my intention of asking this question, but you're a guy that's been there for all 5 of the games. And I want to ask you, how do you explain the streak against Kentucky? Because that is one, obviously, that all South Carolina fans just scratch their head and just simply cannot believe. And as a guy, it's interesting. We had, like I said, I talked to Michael Scarnecchia before, and his answer was simply that South Carolina hasn't been physical enough. And as a guy like you that plays on the line, I'm just curious to get your thoughts. Do you think can you just simply pinpoint it on that? Has Kentucky been so much better than anybody gives them credit for? How would you explain the streak against Kentucky right now?
I think our last 2 years, they were a lot better than people anticipated. I think the first 3 years, we kind of just let it slip through the cracks. I can't pinpoint it. It was just weird. And going into the game, we had, especially, the game when it was like, I believe it's the second or third game of the season, Debo's having that Heisman candidate type year. We had so much momentum going into that game. And then I guess they just outplayed us. We weren't physical enough. They came to play and we didn't. Again, like that's something that, we kind of had to live with, going into every year. Especially my last 2 years, we would even circle Kentucky. So we got let's beat this team. We got to stop messing around with them. And then it just didn't happen. I don't even know. It was just very frustrating.
I want to ask you, because obviously it's going to be a huge storyline going into this year. Gamecocks getting the Wildcats at home at Williams-Brice. Do you think? Is it something that becomes mental? Because as an athlete, I know that eventually the stuff starts to creep in your head, and like you said, you guys circle the Kentucky game. like you're thinking to this year's game, I mean, is it something that's mental where it's like you're almost expecting something bad to happen? Or, I mean, what do you think? Let me ask you this. What do you think this year's team has to do to put that streak to an end?
Well, I mean, you said it is mental, but at the end of the day, what the difference between a champion and an average Joe is learning to control those emotions, not letting the mental part seeping into your head and letting it affect your train of thought. At the end of the day, man, when the whistle starts in Williams-Brice when we play the Wildcats, it's going to be 0-0. It's going to be a great game. The Williams-Brice is going to be so electric. Everyone's going to be hyped. The players are going to be ready to play. We're just going to have to score more points. I mean, I know that sounds simple, but at the end of the day, we just haven't scored more points, and that goes with game planning, preparation, on the field during the play, execution. But this is a new year, and we're looking forward to the Wildcats.
No doubt. So I also want to get your opinion on something that happened in the 2018 season, and that was kind of the back and forth between obviously Jake Bentley goes down with an injury against Kentucky. Michael Scarnecchia gets the start against Missouri, plays extremely well, obviously has an all-time game for South Carolina. Parker White hits the game-winning field goal. Everyone is happy. The conversation that ensued after that game was madness on local radio stations, social media about who should start at quarterback, and it seemed like it just went nuts when you look back at it. I mean, what were your thoughts on it as a bystander, if you will? Because obviously you're friends with both guys, close with both guys, but it's at the end of the day, who's going to play and win football games? I mean, what were your thoughts on it sort of as a bystander, if you will, of the kind of the quarterback situation and kind of what unfolded?
Well, during the season, there's so much we got to think about. The players aren't going to make the decision on who's starting between Jake and Scar. I was with Scar for 5 years. I was in college with Jake for 4 years, three years. So I'm really close with both of them. We all knew that we had full confidence in both of those guys. To say that wasn't crazy would be a lie. A lot of people said Scar should play. A lot of people, wanted Jake to play. But us as players, we really didn't care who was in. I mean, we had so much faith in both of the guys that whoever was in, we had full confidence that they were going to be able to execute and lead the team.
For sure. So I want to jump ahead, Jacob, to the Florida game. Obviously did not turn out the way you guys wanted, but you get your second career touchdown actually to start the game on a 2-yard reception. Just kind of walk me through, talk about that play. I mean, was it designed to go to you specifically? And I guess sort of your emotions scoring that game, and also in what was a crazy, crazy game down in the swamp.
Well, we had run that play for 2 years now in that same set with 3 tight ends, 2 tight ends and a fullback. And we would run the same power play. We'd run a power play and a zone play, but they were all pretty much focused on an inside zone run. And the other teams had seen that, so they were really anticipating the 1 yard, like push your running back in over the line. And so when they called hike, me and Kyle, we had stepped down, and the offensive line did a really good job of faking play action, and the linebackers bit. Going into the game, we had thought that Kyle was going to be the one open just because he was going in the flat, and I was going to go to the back pylon, and we were going to high-low the one defender that was in between us. And so we anticipated Kyle would get it, but the fake, I guess, worked so well that everyone ended up biting, and me and Kyle were just both wide open in the back in the end zone. And Jake, I guess, just picked me. Thank God he did. Kyle got his touchdown the next drive, so we were even and we were both happy. But it was awesome. That play was all based on what we had done prior to the games. We had run that play so many times before that it was just time to implement that play, and it ended up working really well.
Good day for the tight ends, no doubt.
That's right.
I talked about that game, and obviously I won't kind of go over exactly what happened. We all know how that game turned out and ended up. But for you again, Jacob, you worry about the things you can control. I know that's something Muschamp really preaches on, be where your feet are, all those good things. But as an offense, when you see the bodies going down the way they were a year ago, which was crazy, the way that all the injuries seemed to hit on one position, on one side of the ball, and the defense was just decimated. I mean, did you guys kind of feel like, hey, we really honestly need to score every time we touch the football because we know we're just not playing with a full deck on the defensive side?
Yeah, I mean, going in, we knew we needed to score a lot of points, but every game we're trying to score a lot of points. It's not like we're going to some games and we're like, oh, our defense is going to play good this game. We only need to score so many points. We knew that we need to score a lot of points, to kind of help out the defense because the defense in my career they bailed us out so many times as well, and so we kind of just wanted to return the favor. That's what football is about, man. Is when one side's struggling, the other side comes and picks them up. And that was kind of the case throughout my career. We had whether it was offense struggling or defense struggling. I always thought that we did a pretty good job of having the other respective side execute and kind of carry the load for us.
How crazy was it to see your teammates going down on that side of the ball, though? I mean, I feel like it can get to a point where you're like, God, am I next? Because, I mean, it was just crazy the amount of guys going down with ankles, knees. I mean, just all kinds of injuries. It didn't make any sense. I know that for me especially.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was sad. I mean, not only are these like my teammates, but, these are kids that I've, became really good friends with the last 1 to 5 years. I know their families. I mean, I know a lot about them. I know so much about them to where like, it's not just, yeah, they're hurt, they're out, next guy. It's like, oh man, like this guy's trying to chase his dream and make it to NFL, and these injuries are stopping him. So, we wanted to kind of help them out and, try to play better and, try to get wins for them so that we can kind of boost their morale so that they can come back stronger and healthier and, during rehab, give them incentive to come back. But yeah, it was sad, man. It really hurt us a lot on the field and off the field because we knew how much playing means to us and to them. Because you're playing football for what 4 to 6 months, I guess, but the other months you're training. You're up at 4:45 a.m. and then you don't leave until sometimes 9 or 10 p.m. if you're in camp, or if you're in the summer you're doing 2 a days, and then
there is no off season. So, there is no off season.
Yeah, exactly. There is no off season. But I thought we did an okay job managing that. I mean, we won 7 games. We were not too excited about that, but I thought we did okay in terms of that field.
I have to ask you, just because I see it all the time, I hear it all the time. People ask me about it all the time. I think it's the most absurd thing I've ever heard. But what do you think of the people that try to say that the reason all the injuries happened was people that have criticized Jeff Dillman, the shoes? I mean, is that not like the most absurd thing you've ever
heard? I mean, yeah, that's pretty absurd. I mean, at the end of the day, like once you get on the field, I mean, Jeff Dillman's not going to be the one breaking her ankle, like the other teams, weird things happen. So that was definitely, outlandish. Why, in terms of why people said stuff like that. It's not true. It's just people, trying to let out their emotions and they don't know how, so they just use that as an out.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I do want to ask you, Jacob, about the Carolina-Clemson rivalry, because I know while it didn't go your way at USC, that's not a rivalry that everyone gets to play in. Talk about, the emotions behind that as a kid that grew up as a South Carolina fan, the emotions in that game for you specifically, and then I'll ask you your opinion. Simply put, what do you think South Carolina football needs to do to turn the rivalry back around in the Gamecocks' favor?
We just need to worry about ourselves. We don't really care about what's going on in the upstate. None of that's going to matter. At the end of the day, like I said, with Kentucky, it's going to be 0-0 when the game starts. It's going to be whether or not we execute the right amount of plays, or we stop there on third downs. Or I know that hurt us a lot last year, was not being able to stop on third downs, but that was a lot of what you said about it, what we talked about earlier in terms of injuries. We just need to focus on ourselves. We can't control what's going outside of the practice field, what's going outside of the facility. So just staying on the right track.
No doubt. So I want to ask you, Jacob, obviously, again, I'm not trying to ask a bunch of negative questions, but I just want to get your perspective. I want to know, let's jump to that bowl game against Virginia. I mean, in your opinion, or I guess from what you saw, what you heard, what you experienced, I mean, what would you say happened in that game, simply put?
Honestly, looking back at it, it was a blur. Like I don't even remember that game. It was so demoralizing as a senior, that being your last game. You want to come out, you want to leave out, victorious. You want to end on a win so you can kind of ride out into the sunset. But just didn't happen, man. They were, when you look back at it, when you watch the film, they were more physical. They were moving quicker. And again, that's a lot on the senior leadership. We needed to nip that in the bud when we should have, but we just didn't. It was just a tough day for us.
No doubt. So I want to ask you kind of on a lighter note question, if you will, Jacob. How jealous are you? Obviously, the Ken and Cindy Long operations building opened up. I believe they moved in what, January, I think it was. How jealous are you that you don't really get to use, or I guess you can go back and use it, but how jealous were you that it opened up literally the minute after you leave South Carolina? I mean, it's got to be kind of a.
It was tough, man. I mean, we especially like during practices, we practiced for 3 years and they were building it, and we were like, oh, we can't wait to be in it, because initially we were going to be in it for a season, so we were looking forward to it. And even my senior year, there was a lot of talks of it being open in December, so the seniors were really excited to get in there the last month and kind of break it in. But that place is unbelievable. There's no excuses anymore. With the old ops, it was kind of tougher to get closer with your coaches and your teammates, because the coaches were on the other side of the field. They were above the student section, and then the players in the weight room, in the meeting rooms were on the left side of or on the right side of the field, on the other side of the end zone. So we didn't really get to see them as much as we wanted to, and I feel like that kind of hurt a little bit. But that's what the new facility kind of helps with, is getting players closer with the coaches, and just having everything in the same area.
For sure. So jumping into this year's team, Jacob, obviously we're only 26 days away from kickoff, depending on when you're tuning into this, but 26 days away from kickoff roughly. I want to ask you, because one guy, obviously I want to talk about the tight end specifically with you for just a second. A lot of guys you played with, most of them are back this year. Keel Pollard, Kyle Markway, will register, Evan Henson. I'm going to probably forget a couple, but those are the ones I remember off the top of my head. But one guy that I'm really, really, really excited for, and he played a little bit last year, had a little bit of an impact, but love his attitude, love his game. That's Keel Pollard. I'm sure you were probably at the spring game as well, and I take spring games with a grain of salt. Like I don't put a ton of stock in a guy balls out in the spring game and all of a sudden he's going to be the next big time thing in college football. But Keel Pollard's a guy that did it a little bit last year. You have to love his tenacity and the way he plays the game. I don't remember specifically when it was, maybe after the Kentucky game, when he said we need to do less talking and talk more with our pads, which is just such a football guy thing to say. But he had a big spring game. You can really see, and I'm really excited for Keel Pollard and think he could be one of Jake Bentley's favorite targets this year. When you look at Keel Pollard and Kyle Markway and the rest of the tight ends, but specifically Keel Pollard, I mean, what type of season do you think he can have for South Carolina?
I think Keel's going to have a breakout year, and I also think Kyle's going to have a really good year as well. But like you said, Keel, he's just a football guy, man. I mean, he just loves to put on the pads. He loves running routes. He loves blocking. He loves getting better every day. He's so passionate about his technique, and this goes with all the tight ends. But especially Kyle and Keel, I mean, they're just so passionate about what they're doing. They love the game of football so much that I think that if Jake can find them, Kyle and Keel are going to have a great year. But the thing with Keel is he came in as a receiver, so he has that background, to his advantage. He's really good with his route. The one thing about Keel that people kind of got a glimpse of but didn't really see that much is he's so elusive. He's very quick, and then on top of that, his passion for the game it's just cannot be understated. He's just so committed. I could see Keel playing, 15 years in the league, 10 years in the league if you wanted to. He's that kind of player. He's just an electric guy to watch.
No doubt. So, random question, Jacob, that just came to my head, but I'm just thinking about your teammates and your time at South Carolina. You guys obviously do something that I feel like has become infamous, at least something that South Carolina fans know about, and that's the cock drill, which is the one-on-ones. Who's the toughest guy you ever took on in the cock drill?
Danny Fennell and DJ Wanham, I'm sorry. Danny Fennell he has some of the heaviest hands that I went against. Cock drill, it's just like a condensed form of what we do on the line every play. It's one-on-one with the guy across the line. And Danny Fennell and Warren, they were just so tough to move. I mean, Danny, he came in, benching a lot of weight, so it's kind of second nature to him. I'm really excited for Danny this year as well, because he's a guy who kind of waited his turn. I know he's coming off an ACL injury, but if he can get on the field and stay healthy, I think that he can have a really good year as well.
For sure. So I want to talk about as well this year's team and really the program, the direction of the program under Will Muschamp, Jacob. You talked about since Muschamp has gotten there, it's been solid. 2016, 6 wins, 2017, the 9-win season, and last year a 7-win season. And, obviously a lot of questions they ask me about Will Muschamp. There's been a lot of different conversations, some credible, some not, I guess. I think the people that anyone that says hot seat, I completely just discredit what they're talking about. But I just want to ask you the direction of the program under Will Muschamp, because I feel really good about it. And I think what people need to realize is they need to have patience. And that's not a very popular word nowadays, but it takes time to build a championship level program. I mean, we're talking about a man that has the most wins in his first 3 years in South Carolina history. When you look at, because I'm sure you're still a Gamecock fan. I mean, you were a Gamecock fan before, and I'm sure you're more of it even now. When you look at this program, the direction under Will Muschamp, what are your thoughts? Do you have any doubt that Will Muschamp is the guy to get the Gamecocks sort of back to where they want to be winning 10, 11, 12 games a year?
No doubt in my mind. I think the sky's the limit for that staff. I mean, even the guys they have now, the new staff, they made a few changes after the last season, and everyone they have on their staff is just like the right guy for the job. I mean, so much can be said for all those assistants. I mean, Coach Muschamp, he's an excellent head coach, but, he can only do so much. It's about the guys underneath him. They're just as important. And that whole staff together, especially now, the sky's the limit. I mean, there's no telling what they can do if they can implement the things that they want to implement.
For sure. So I want to ask you, obviously, though, Jacob, because you're a guy, again, I know as a competitor, I feel like I know what your answer is going to be to this, but everyone wants to talk about going into this year, the schedule. That's all you hear about is the schedule, how hard the schedule is.
And we don't care about the schedule. And I know for a fact they don't care about the schedule. I mean, that's all media. Like at the end of the day, it's like I said, it's 0-0. There's 12 opportunities to make history. Everyone talks about how we play the first ranked, second ranked, third ranked team in the
wouldn't you say that's an exciting thing there? Like you'd look at more as an opportunity than something that's a negative.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, you have an opportunity to beat the first, second, and third team preseason the first, second, and third preseason teams in the country. I mean, that's not a lot. No one else gets to have that opportunity, So I know they're looking at it the right way. They have a good perspective on things, and they're just really excited about it.
For sure. So, Jacob, talk about life after football for you. Obviously, I know you were working out, gave, I guess, the NFL a try, but if you're still doing football or kind of just let Gamecock fans know, I guess, what you're currently up to and I guess, what your plans are, if football is still in the plans for you, or I guess sort of what the life of Jacob August is like right now.
Yeah. So I did, I actually got hurt during my training. I was hurt my senior season with a groin injury, and I played through that, and then, going a few months into training, it was just kind of best for me to stop training because at the time there was no cure for what I was going through. But I'm getting healthier now, and I'm kind of thinking about going back, giving another try. I worked at a Blackbaud. It's a software company for nonprofits. I did an internship there this summer. I'm in the last week of it now. So, Brian Burruff and those guys, they really helped me out with that. But, if I can't give you a definitive answer right now because I'm still in the process of, kind of figuring it out.
Gotcha. No, I was just curious. I was hoping that football was still in the plans because obviously I know South Carolina fans, including myself, would love to see that pan out. Before we let you go, Jake, I kind of a funny off the wall question. I've heard a lot of funny Spurrier stories, but I'm curious, what's the funniest Muschamp story that you can tell on the airwaves?
Oh man, there's a lot of things I can't tell you, but just seeing Muschamp's reactions during the talent shows. Every year we have a freshman talent show during camp, and you know, guys get to pick their own talent, and some of them are really funny, you know, some of them aren't, some of them are, you know, kind of gross, some of them are, you know, just things you don't want to like say in public. But just seeing Coach Muschamp's reactions to a lot of those videos was some of the funniest things that I've ever seen. I mean, Muschamp is like, he's an hysterical guy, you know. When he laughs, he laughs. When he laughs, everyone else laughs. So nothing I can really tell you, you know, in detail, but you know, he's just such a great guy.
Fair enough. I feel like it's a little too fresh. He's bound to show up at your door and kind of set you.
Exactly.
Might make you do some up downs or do something. You're not
right.
too far removed from Muschamp's wrath, I feel like. All right, last question before I get you out of here, Jacob. When you look back on your career at South Carolina, if you had to pinpoint it to one, what would you say is your favorite memory as a Gamecock?
Favorite memory as a Gamecock? There's so many. I don't know if I can just give you one. But, you know, the Tennessee win, when they were 15 in the country, you know, that was incredible. The Michigan game, like you talked about. Beating Florida at home was a big accomplishment for me as well, you know, us as a team. And, you know, that was the first time Muschamp had beaten Florida, so that meant a lot to us as well.
No doubt. Well, Jacob, really do appreciate you taking the time. Obviously, I want to say I know I speak for all Gamecock fans when I say it was a pleasure to, you know, watch you do what you guys did on the field. I know for you specifically, coming from where you came from, being a local guy, being a walk-on to earn a scholarship, that's always something that's really cool and really special, kind of taking that different route. So I appreciate you taking the time, man. Like I said, off the air, would love to have you back on the upcoming months to talk the season. And hopefully we're talking about the Gamecocks winning double-digit games, going to Atlanta. You never know what can happen. But appreciate it, man. We'll definitely talk soon.
All right, I really appreciate you having me on.